Lights down. One beat of silence. Imagine being told your voice is wrong. Your name is wrong. Your dream is ridiculous. Imagine carrying a vision so heavy it makes your hands shake, yet you hold it anyway. He did. A kid. From a small town with an accent the world mocked, a body the world doubted, and a dream the world couldn't pronounce. He turned rejection into repetition. He turned too much into not enough yet. He turned I'll be back into a prophecy. This is not a story about weights and movie quotes. It's about a decision to trust yourself when no one else does, to outwork the doubt, to thank the pain for making you stronger, and to give back more than you took. Tonight isn't about washing a legend. It's about becoming one. Because the world doesn't need another critic. It needs you useful, relentless, unforgettable. One beat. Look them in the eyes. Let's begin. Every great story begins with a question. Why should it matter to you? Because if it doesn't connect with your life, it's just entertainment. Tonight. This is not entertainment. This is transformation. We are here for more than just hearing about a man with muscles, movies, and political power. That's surface. The real story, the one that touches your life, is about what's possible when you refuse to accept the limits handed to you. Think about your own life for a second. How many times have you been told no? No, you're not ready. No, that's impossible. No, someone like you can't do that. And maybe if we're honest, sometimes the loudest no didn't even come from someone else. It came from you, from that inner voice that whispers, you're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You don't belong. That is why this story matters. Because the man we're about to study, the one whose journey shook the world, started in the same place you are. Not with resources, not with privilege, not with a perfect plan. He started with doubt pressing down on him from every direction and still chose to rise. Arnold Schwarzenegger was not supposed to succeed. Let's be real. He was born in a small Austrian town most people can't point to on a map. His accent was mocked endlessly. Hollywood executives laughed at his name, telling him it was too long, too strange, too foreign to ever appear on a movie poster. They told him his body was too big for the screen, his dreams too big for reality. Every label, every criticism, every limitation was stacked against him. And yet he became a global icon. Why? Because he did what most people refuse to do. He turned rejection into raw material. He turned every doubt into a rep, every criticism into fuel, every failure into feedback. Now pause and bring that into your world. What about you? What dream are you holding that the world keeps telling you is too much? What fire burns in your chest that you keep trying to smother because you're afraid of being laughed at? That right there, that's the reason this story matters. Arnold's journey is not just a biography, it's a mirror. It shows us what happens when a human being refuses to settle for the story written for them and instead writes their own. And if he could do it coming from nowhere, carrying disadvantages, why not you? The truth is, most people never even begin because they let doubt decide for them. They wait for permission. They wait for perfect timing. They wait until the world claps for them before they've even started. And you know what? The clapping never comes. The permission slip never arrives. The timing is never perfect. So let's set the stakes clearly tonight. Your future will not be decided by your environment. It will be decided by your decisions. Arnold once said, "You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets." That's not just a witty line. It's a principle. Life will not hand you your destiny. You've got to fight for it, live for it, sacrifice for it. The reason we are studying his rules tonight is because they are not just bodybuilding rules or acting rules or political rules, they are life rules. And if you absorb them, if you embody them, you won't just admire his story, you'll create your own. But first, you need to feel the weight of the decision in front of you. Tonight is not casual. This isn't background noise while you drift through your thoughts. This is a call to step out of the small version of yourself and into the larger one you've been hiding. You and I both know there's more inside you than what you're currently showing the world. You know it. When you wake up and feel that pull for something bigger, you know it when you go to bed at night and feel the sting of unfinished potential. That's why you're here. That's why this matters. So, as we begin, I need you to commit to one thing. Don't listen to this story like a fan, listen like a fighter. Don't sit back and admire what he did. Stand up inside yourself and ask, what will I do? Because this story isn't about Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about you. It's about what's possible when a human being takes doubt, rejection, and failure and bends them into destiny. Every giant vision begins in a small place, and often the smaller the place, the bigger the dream needs to be. Arnold Schwarzenegger's story begins not in the bright lights of Los Angeles, not on a movie set, not in a governor's office, but in a cold, cramped house in a small Austrian village. His family didn't have much. His father was strict, sometimes harsh. His town was quiet, safe, ordinary. Ordinary was the expectation. Ordinary was the ceiling. And yet inside this boy's mind, ordinary was never enough. He looked around at the small streets, the limited opportunities, and instead of shrinking, he expanded. He saw what most people fail to see, that his environment was not his destiny. This is the first turning point of his life. And it's one of the most powerful lessons you can take for yourself. Your environment is a story. You can edit it. Think about that. How many of us let our surroundings dictate what we believe we can become? If we grow up in a small town, we convince ourselves we're meant for small dreams. If we grow up in a family that never went beyond a certain point, we quietly lower our expectations to match. But Arnold didn't. He looked at his small village and said, "This will be my starting line, not my finish line." What gave him that vision? It was pictures, magazines, photographs of bodybuilders and movie stars that he would stare at for hours. When others saw fantasy, he saw possibility. To him, they weren't distant icons. They were previews of what could be. He wasn't looking at what was, he was looking at what would be. And here's the key. He didn't just daydream. He didn't just fantasize about escape. He turned those visions into a blueprint. He studied the physics of champions and imagined his own body following the same path. He studied movie stars and pictured his face on the screen. He wasn't pretending, he was preparing. Visualization, for him, wasn't about escaping reality. It was about creating it. Now pause for a moment and reflect on yourself. How often do you use your imagination to replay the past, to rehearse your failures, to magnify your fears? What if you turned that same imagination forward into a weapon of construction, not destruction? Arnold understood this at a young age. If he could see it clearly in his mind, he could work toward it relentlessly in reality. That's why he called his visions goals. He didn't say, "I hope." He said, "I will." And every day, he acted as if that future was already written. But make no mistake, that didn't mean the path was easy. In that small town, there weren't gyms with shiny machines. There weren't Hollywood coaches waiting to guide him. He had to make do with what he had. Wooden weights, basic equipment, long hours alone in a cold room, training when no one else understood why. People laughed, they mocked. They couldn't understand why a boy would push his body so hard. Why he carried a vision so much bigger than the village could comprehend. But this is where the principle becomes universal. If your vision doesn't fit your environment, it's probably the right vision. Most people adjust their dreams to match their surroundings. Arnold adjusted his surroundings to match his dreams. And that's what made him unstoppable. He once said that every rep he didn't just feel his muscles growing, he felt himself one step closer to America, one step closer to Hollywood, one step closer to his dream. Every lift was more than a lift. It was a bridge. And that's the mindset we need to steal. Because in your life, you will face the same crossroad. Look at what's around you and shrink. Or look at what's inside you and expand. Arnold's origin teaches us this. You do not have to be a prisoner of your environment. Your birthplace is not your sentence. Your past is not your prophecy. So let me ask you directly, what is your small town? It might not be a literal village. Maybe it's your current job that feels like it's caging you. Maybe it's a circle of people who don't see your potential. Maybe it's a set of financial limits that keep telling you to think smaller, dream smaller, want less. But just like him, you have a choice. You can accept it as your ceiling, or you can declare it as your floor. That's what Arnold did. He turned a tiny, ordinary beginning into fuel for an extraordinary life. He refused to let his surroundings shrink his imagination. He refused to let other people's limits become his. He declared, even as a young boy staring at a poster, "That will be me." The very first rule that Arnold Schwarzenegger gives before work ethic, before discipline, before success is simple but radical: trust yourself. Why is this so powerful? Because most people never learn how to listen to their own voice. They live their lives on borrowed soundtracks, parents telling them what they should be, teachers telling them what's realistic, friends telling them what's acceptable, and society telling them what's normal. But here's the truth. No one can give you your identity. You have to decide it. Arnold grew up in a world where his vision didn't make sense. In his small Austrian town, bodybuilding was strange, almost laughable. Becoming an actor in America, unthinkable. Politics, impossible. And yet, Even when every voice outside him shouted no, there was one voice inside him that whispered yes. That whisper became the foundation of everything he achieved. Trusting yourself doesn't mean you never hear doubt. It means you decide which voice gets the final word. And that's the lesson here. Your inner voice is the compass. If you silence it, you will live lost. If you strengthen it, you will live legendary. Think of how many people spend their entire lives trying to satisfy everyone else, checking the boxes, climbing ladders they don't even want to climb, wearing masks that suffocate them. They may gain approval, but inside they feel empty. Why? Because they ignored the one voice that mattered, their own. Arnold refused to do that. When people told him to choose a normal career, he trusted himself. When people mocked his accent, he trusted himself. When they said his body was too much for film, he trusted himself. He wasn't reckless, but he was ruthless about this. No one else's opinion would define him. And you have to ask yourself, what would your life look like if you actually trusted yourself? What dreams would you admit to? What risks would you take? What moves would you make if you weren't paralyzed by the fear of judgment? Let me paint it for you. Trusting yourself is not arrogance. It's alignment. It's saying, I was created with a unique fingerprint, and my path will not look like anyone else's. It's understanding that your dream is not a mistake, it's a message. It was placed in you for a reason. Arnold put it this way: no matter what you do in life, it is important that you trust yourself and not listen to the naysayers. That's not motivational fluff, it's survival advice. If he hadn't trusted himself, he would have been another nameless man in Austria. Instead, he became a symbol of what's possible when you let your inner vision outweigh outer opinions. Now, let's bring this down to earth for you. Right now, you might have a decision weighing on you. A career move, a creative project, a relationship, a leap of faith, and you've been waiting for validation. You've been waiting for someone to say, yes, do it, yes, you're ready. But here's the wake-up call. That permission slip isn't coming. You have to write it yourself. And here's the challenge: when you trust yourself, you will feel alone. You will feel misunderstood. People will question you. They may even laugh at you. But that's the price of authenticity. And the reward is freedom. The reward is building a life that fits you, not a life that fits their expectations. Let's do a quick exercise right now. Imagine your future self, 10 years from today. Not the watered-down version, not the acceptable version, the real version. The version that went all in. The version that ignored the naysayers and trusted their own voice. Now, write one sentence in your mind. I am underscore underscore underscore. Not I hope to be. Not I want to be. But I am. That is the first draft of your future. That is what trusting yourself feels like. It feels like ownership. It feels like writing your own name in bold letters across your destiny. Arnold did this before he had the proof. He said, I will be the greatest bodybuilder. I will be the biggest movie star. I will be more than they think I can be. At the time, he was just a kid with broken English and no connections. But he trusted himself enough to declare it. And then he built the body, the career, the life to match. And this is what you must understand. confidence is not a gift, it's a contract. You don't wait to feel confident. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you act on your own voice, you reinforce it. Every time you betray it, you weaken it. So, when Arnold says, trust yourself, he's not giving you a suggestion, he's giving you the foundation. Because if you don't trust yourself, nothing else matters. You won't do the work. You won't take the risks. You won't rise after failure. But when you do trust yourself, everything else becomes possible. When Arnold stood in front of audiences and declared one of his golden rules, break the rules, not the law, he wasn't glorifying rebellion for its own sake. He was pointing to something deeper. Greatness requires stepping outside the boundaries that fear and convention have drawn around you. Rules are everywhere. Some are necessary. Laws keep us safe, protect order, and give structure to life. But then there are the invisible rules, the unspoken limits. The "this is how it's always been done" rules. The "someone like you can't do that" rules. These aren't real laws. They're cages built by other people's expectations. And here's the truth. If you want to live a life that inspires, you will have to break those rules. Arnold learned this early. The Hollywood executives told him that there were rules about what a leading man should look like. Lean, not muscular. Smooth voice, not a heavy accent. Easy name, not Schwarzenegger. If he had followed those rules, he would have blended into the background. He would have played minor roles, maybe disappeared altogether. But instead, he broke them. He took the very things they told him to hide: his body, his voice, his name, and made them his brand. His accent became iconic. His body became legendary. His name became unforgettable. He wasn't supposed to fit in. He was supposed to stand out. And by breaking the rules, he carved a lane that had never existed before. Now think about that in your own life. How many rules have you accepted without even questioning them at your age? It's too late to start over. People like us don't make it that far. Stay in your lane. Don't rock the boat. Don't make people uncomfortable. These are not laws. They are limits disguised as wisdom. And if you obey them, you'll live a safe life, but never a significant one. Every person who has ever changed the world had to break the rules of their time. Edison broke the rule that nights must stay dark. The Wright brothers broke the rule that humans can't fly. Rosa Parks broke the rule that said she should give up her seat. Imagine if they had obeyed. Imagine if they had bowed to convention. The world would be smaller, dimmer, and weaker. Breaking the rules isn't about recklessness. It's about courage. It's about looking at the script you've been handed and daring to write your own. And yes, it comes with resistance. When you break rules, people will talk. They'll criticize. They'll misunderstand you. They'll say you're arrogant, unrealistic, or out of touch. But remember this: no one who played it safe is remembered. The names we honor are the names of the ones who dared to be different. Arnold said it plainly. You have to think outside the box. What is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? That statement is raw, but it's the truth. Too many people spend their lives avoiding waves, when in reality they were born to make them. So let's bring this to you. What rule are you obeying right now that is keeping you small? Maybe it's the rule of silence you've been told not to speak up. So you keep your voice quiet even when it burns inside you. Maybe it's the rule of timing you've been told to wait. So you've been postponing your dream for years. Maybe it's the rule of permission you're waiting for someone to nod their head and tell you it's okay to move. But here's the shift. Those rules are optional. You can break them today. You can give yourself permission today. You can rewrite the expectations today. Arnold's life proves this. The very things that made him different were the things that made him great. And the same is true for you. The thing you've been told to tone down, to hide, to soften, what if that's the very thing that will set you apart? What if your flaw is actually your fingerprint? That's why breaking the rules is not about rebellion, it's about revelation. It reveals who you really are. It reveals a new way forward. It reveals possibilities that others couldn't see because they were too busy obeying the script. So when Arnold tells you to break the rules, he's not asking you to disrespect authority, he's asking you to refuse invisibility. He's asking you to choose significance over safety. He's asking you to be bold enough to live a life that makes others uncomfortable. Because comfort never created change. And maybe, just maybe, the world is waiting for you to stop obeying and start creating. Arnold's third rule is the one that scares people the most, because it's not glamorous, it's not instant, and it's not optional. Work like hell. This is where dreams either die or are born. Because it doesn't matter how big your vision is, how loudly you trust yourself, or how many rules you're willing to break if you don't put in the work. It's all fantasy. Arnold put it bluntly. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard, it will never translate into anything. And he didn't just say it, he lived it. In his early days of bodybuilding, while others were training an hour or two, he was training 5 or 6. When others did 20 sets, he did 50. While his competitors rested, he pushed. His philosophy was simple. Do more reps, spend more hours, give more effort. He wasn't just competing against other men, he was competing against his own limits. This is what I call the rep principle. Every rep is a vote for your future. Every set, every hour, every effort is a brick in the foundation of your destiny. That's why he said he loved training. Not because it was easy, but because every time he lifted, he felt closer to his vision. He wasn't just building a body. He was building a bridge to America, to Hollywood, to the world he saw in his mind. And that's the difference between those who succeed and those who stop. Successful people find meaning in the grind. They don't avoid the work. They embrace it because they see it for what it is, a stepping stone. Now here's the uncomfortable truth for us today. Most people are allergic to hard work. They want shortcuts. They want hacks. They want results without sacrifice. They scroll through motivational videos hoping for inspiration. But they forget that inspiration without perspiration is just entertainment. But not Arnold. He had a rule. If it's not on the calendar, it's not real. That meant his day was structured around the work, training, acting lessons, business meetings, studying English, Auditions he didn't wait until he felt like it. He scheduled it. Then he executed. He called it daily doubles. Train the body and train the mind. Build the craft and build the future. He was relentless. And because of that, he gained what others didn't: momentum. And here's where it connects with your life. Maybe you're not trying to win Mr. Olympia. Maybe you're not training to star in movies. But you have your own vision, your own ladder to climb. And the question is, are you willing to outwork your doubt? Because that's what hard work really does. It silences doubt. You can't control when fear shows up. You can't control when the voice in your head says you're not good enough. But you can drown it out with effort. You can say, maybe, I don't believe fully in myself today, but I'm going to do the reps anyway. And tomorrow, I'll be stronger. Arnold said that when people were out partying, he was working. When people were relaxing, he was grinding. He was hungry not for fame, but for progress. That hunger made him unstoppable. And here's the thing. The work doesn't just shape your results. It shapes your identity. Every time you do the hard thing, you send a message to yourself. I am disciplined. I am relentless. I am unstoppable. Over time, that becomes who you are. But when you avoid the work, you send the opposite message. I quit when it gets hard. I choose comfort over growth. I am not ready. And those messages add up to dots. So let me ask you, what are your daily reps? Not in the gym, but in your life. If your dream is to build a business, what's your rep? Phone calls, research, meetings, products. If your dream is to write, what's your rep? Pages written, words edited, ideas refined. If your dream is to lead, what's your rep? People mentored, skills sharpened, strategies executed. You can measure your future by counting your reps today. And yes, it will hurt. It will stretch you. It will demand hours when you feel like there's one force in life that kills more dreams than failure ever could. It's not lack of talent, not lack of money, not lack of opportunity. It's the naysayers, the people who tell you you can't, the voices that whisper it's impossible, the critics who laugh and say, who do you think you are? Arnold faced them at every stage of his life. When he told people he wanted to be the greatest bodybuilder in the world, they laughed. Your body is strange. No one will care. When he told people he wanted to move to America, they said, impossible. You'll never make it there. When he said he would become a movie star, they mocked him. You'll never make it in Hollywood. Your accent is too heavy. Your name is too long. Your muscles are too big. Forget it. And yet here's the truth. If he had listened, if he had obeyed the naysayers, we wouldn't even know his name today. That's the power of ignoring. Not fighting, not arguing, not wasting your breath proving yourself to people who don't believe in you. But ignoring. Because here's the harsh reality. The world will always have doubters. It doesn't matter how good you are, how talented, how hardworking, you will meet resistance. And sometimes it won't come from strangers. It will come from the people closest to you. Parents who don't understand your dream. Friends who think you've lost your mind. Colleagues who remind you of how hard it is. But Arnold understood something that can change your life. Naysayers aren't prophets. They're mirrors. They don't reflect your limits, they reflect their own. When someone says, "That can't be done," what they're really saying is, "I can't imagine doing it." They're not describing your potential. They're confessing their own fear. So here's the question. Whose voice are you going to believe? The voice inside you that whispers possibility, or the voice outside you that shouts limitation? Arnold chose his own voice. He decided early on, if I had listened to the naysayers, I would still be in Austria, and I would never have come to America. He didn't waste his time trying to convince the world. He showed them with action. He let his results silence their noise. And that's exactly what you must learn to do. Because if you spend your life trying to get everyone's approval, you will spend your life waiting. Approval is a prison. Progress is freedom. Think about your own journey. How many times have you held back not because you lacked ability, but because someone told you it was unrealistic? How many dreams have you put on the shelf because you let another person's disbelief outweigh your own desire? But here's the truth. The only voice that decides your future is the one inside you. That doesn't mean criticism is useless. In fact, there's a strategy here. Arnold didn't cover his ears. He filtered what he heard. He said, use criticism as fuel. When people doubted his physique, he studied their words. Was there something he could improve? If yes, he used it. If no, he discarded it. That's the key. Take the 2% that helps you grow and throw away the 98% that's just noise. That way, the naysayers become accidental coaches. They push you further without even knowing it. Every no becomes fuel for your yes. Every laugh becomes motivation for your grind. But let's go deeper, because the most dangerous naysayer is not out there. It's in here. The voice in your own head. The voice that says, I can't. I'm not ready. I'll fail. That voice is louder than any critic, because it doesn't just talk, it echoes. Arnold battled that voice too. He admitted that doubt never goes away completely, but he had a weapon: work. He drowned his inner naysayer with action. He reminded himself that every rep, every hour, every step was proof that he could. He silenced the lie with evidence. And so can you. When the inner voice says, you can't, respond with a rep. When it says, you're not ready, take one step forward. When it says, you'll fail, remind yourself, failure is not final. Action is the answer. Ignoring the naysayers doesn't mean pretending they don't exist. It means refusing to hand them the pen that writes your story. It means refusing to surrender the wheel of your life to people who don't even believe in their own. Arnold's story teaches us this. The critics will always be there, but they don't get the final word. They laughed at him and then they watched him win. They doubted him and then they watched him dominate. They mocked his dreams and then they watched him turn them into history. So the next time someone tells you it can't be done, smile and remember, they're just describing their limits, not yours.